Good morning. Welcome to Sunday School Simplified. If you haven't joined us before, this is where we take our Sunday school lesson and squeeze it into a short, sweet video that is for the entire family and all ages. I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving. We've done it. We are here. We can now all safely celebrate Christmas. And what does that mean for us? It's the season of Advent. And even as a little girl, I didn't really understand what that meant, and it took me a long time to understand it. And it was similar in preparing this message. It's the same thing every year, so how do we do it differently? What can we say? And I feel like it's not what we can say differently or how to say it, but why? Why do we do this every year? Is it because we're nostalgic for the same thing, the same messages, the same songs during this time? Do we forget every year and need to be reminded? Or looking at the world around us, is it just a time where we need it more? And I think it's a combination of all of those things. And every week we talk about a different thing. If you are familiar with that, if you've seen an Advent wreath with Advent candles, and there's 3 purple candles and 1 pink one. We have hope and peace and joy and love. This along with life, right? Hope, peace, joy, love, and life are what this season is all about. Jesus was born. It's his birthday. These are all messages that are part of God's heart. And he doesn't want us to just do, to hear them and repeat them. He wants us to do more than that. He wants us to sing them. He wants us to breathe them. He wants us to pray about them and share them. After all, this is a season of preparation. I mentioned it during the Lenten season. It's much like Lent, where you're building up to this big event that's going to happen, and as we know it, Jesus' birth and Christmas Day. So also, we have incorporated ASL, American Sign Language, and each week we're going to learn how to sign each word. And the reason why we are incorporating this is if you've ever watched someone sign, I talk with my hands. I'm half Italian, so it's literally in my blood. I have to sit here and hold them really tight so they're not all over the screen. But if you watch someone who is using American Sign Language to communicate, you can really see sometimes the expression and feeling behind words that especially nowadays are lost. How do we communicate? Through text mainly, right? And how many times have you talked to someone and there's a miscommunication? Someone thought you said something or meant something by the way that, it's words on a page. You don't understand how it's expressed. And ASL is the complete opposite of that, right? And so in teaching Advent and the themes over and over again, it's like rote memory. It's just something like riding a bike. But when you see them in this form, it might help you to feel its meaning a little bit deeper. So we are going to start with that. And I want you to take your left hand and face your palm towards you, and take your right hand, so it's opposite on the screen, away from you and towards your forehead, and then just kind of bend at your first knuckle and your thumbs out at your forehead. And that's hope. Or to be hopeful, you can tap your forehead first and then do it. So that is the sign for hope. And I would love to see a story or comment on this video if you use that and shared that with your family. Now, like I mentioned, of Advent being a time of preparation, it's waiting and preparing. Let's prepare for what's to come. And back to the scripture I mentioned in Luke chapter 1, it's the story we start with, the story of Elizabeth and Zacharias. And they were both, good, upstanding people. They came from a long line of obedience to God, and Zacharias worked in a temple, and Elizabeth struggled with having children, and they tried for years. And back then, I mention this often, some people can't relate to the Bible because it's back, so far, and everything is so different. But especially back then, I feel like it's similar to nowadays. If a woman could not bear a child, an heir to someone, pass on the family name, that was like a shame that they carried with them. And even now we're getting away from them. It's not your fault, but she thought it was her fault. It was something that they were doing wrong. They weren't being obedient enough to God. So Zacharias worked in the temple, and one day a messenger of God came to him, and you learn later that it's actually Gabriel, the angel Gabriel, and he tells Zacharias, "You will have a child." And this is unbelievable because they are now so much older and past childbearing years, are what were thought to be back then. And he kind of became dumbfounded. He couldn't speak. But sure enough, Elizabeth had a baby. And I want you to think about, the theme is hope, and to have more hope. Who could have more hope than a woman who wants to have a baby and can't, and they keep trying, and there's nothing to tell them that they can't other than the fact that they haven't been successful to this point? You always have hope for the next. And then you actually become pregnant. And there's still so many things that could go wrong, especially because she's older. But the hope that there's the chance. And that's, as moms, we can relate to that. But if you're a child, what about the hope of Christmas morning? Like, we all make our Christmas lists, right? I think there's toy catalogs that come now, or toy books, wish lists. Like, I used to have the Sears catalog that when the Christmas edition came, it was like this thick, and you'd use it as a weapon or a defense if you had siblings. Like, it was big and thick and heavy. And I remember memories of sitting on the floor in front of the fireplace, going through carefully not to rip the page by page, and then creasing the ones where I saw what I liked. And by the end, half of the book was folded down. The hope of what you're going to get for Christmas. Yes, it's about Jesus, but it's hard not to have Christmas without presents and exciting surprises and gifts and stuff like that too. So if you're a kid, think about that hope. Like, are you going to get the thing that you wish for the most? That's what Elizabeth and Zacharias felt, because the gift they wanted most was a baby. And they got that baby, and they went on to name him John. And it won't be the last time we hear about him. So hope is more than just wanting something. It's expecting something to happen, but having the confidence that it will. Because you can hope, and there's empty hope, and there's, wishing. Wishing is more of you're not really sure, but hope is having the confidence that it will happen. Gabriel came to them and told them this would happen. So it wasn't just something they were wishing for. They had hope because they had confidence, because Gabriel told them that it was going to happen. Not all of the angels in the Bible had wings. Gabriel had big, beautiful wings. And that's another story for another day. But there's something special that they do all have in common, and they are all messengers of God. And in that message, you find things like hope and peace and joy and love. So that's why we talk about there are angels among us. And it could be someone that helps you out with your groceries to your car. Angels are everywhere. They are among us. And how many times I was like, in this world that we live in, and then something good like that happens, we say it gives us hope for humanity. Like, there's hope after all. There are good people in this world. I truly believe that those are angels among us. So in this time of preparation, and we prepare, I'd like to say a closing prayer as we go forward and look forward to next week. I just want to thank God for this message of hope, and that it gives us wings to not only support our message of hope and hope for us, but carry it to others as we go out through this season. So that's Sunday School Simplified. I pray that you have a good, safe,